It's time to make it, just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to another episode of You Can Make It with the Old Fat Guy, David Farrell. Today I'm going to make one of my favorite breakfast items, English muffins. They're a muffin that you make up to be toasted. You just slice a cold one open and fire it into the toaster, and you'll come out with beautiful toasted English muffin that just takes the butter so well. They're quite easy to make, so let's get to it. What I've done is I've measured out 340 milliliters or 1 1/3 cups of flour. Now I find when measuring flour that you never know if it's sifted quite right or if it's packed down, so I prefer to use weights when I measure flour. And this works out to 180 grams or 5 3/4 ounces of all-purpose flour. So I put half the flour in my mixer bowl and I just have the other half sitting here, which I'll be using in a minute. We're going to start by adding some dry ingredients to the flour. We have 10 milliliters or 2 teaspoons of sugar. We have 8 milliliters or 1 1/2 teaspoon of quick rise yeast, and we have 3 milliliters or a half teaspoon of salt. So we'll just put them in with the dry ingredients and just put the paddle on our mixer and give them a quick stir. Now, I have in this container 1 cup of water, and I've added 15 milliliters of butter to it. Then I put it in the microwave and heated it up between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It's important that it's warm. It'll feel just quite warm to the touch because that helps the yeast activate. So we'll add that to the flour we have in the bowl. Now, we just want to beat that at medium for about 2 minutes. Mix the batter for 2 minutes, and we're just going to scrape the bowl. So make sure we get all the flour off the bottom of the bowl. Now we're going to add the remaining flour and just make up a thick batter. And we're just going to stir that on low for about a minute. The thickened batter has stirred for a minute. We just want to give the bowl and the beater one last scrape to make sure we get all the flour in it. And then we'll just give it another 15 seconds of mixing to make sure we've got all the flours in it. There might be the occasional small lump, just don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And then we'll scrape the batter off of the paddle here. And then we're just going to cover this with a tea towel and let it sit for 20 minutes. You can see the batter is nice and thick, but we're not looking for a dough. So just cover it up and let her rest for the 20 minutes. The batter sat for 20 minutes, and now comes the time to cook it. About 10 minutes before the batter was finished resting, I got out my electric fry pan and preheated it to 350 degrees. You'll note that I put some rings in the pan to preheat with it. These are English muffin rings, and you can buy them at specialty kitchen stores. You can also use tuna fish cans if you cut the top and bottom out of them and put them in. They're just a touch smaller though. If you use tuna fish cans, I recommend you make 8 muffins instead of 6 so they're not too thick. You want to preheat them with the pan because you want them hot before you put the batter in it. And then you want to put some baking spray on the sides of the rings, just so that the muffins are easier to take out. There we go. So we sprayed the rings. We've got them preheated to 350 degrees. Now, if you don't have an electric fry pan, do it on top of your stove at medium heat in a regular fry pan. But you'll have to be careful because the times will be a little different because you don't have the exact temperature control. Now, we're just going to divide this batter out amongst the 6 rings. You see it's nice and light and fluffy and spongy. That's what you're looking for. That means the yeast is doing its work. And it looks like I've got a little bit too much in this one and not enough in this one over here. So we'll just scoop some out of the fuller ones and put them in the less full ones. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, I do recommend you cook them with the lid on the fry pan. They just cook up better. So we'll put the lid on and we'll cook them for 5 minutes on that side. Our muffins have been cooking in the electric fry pan covered for 5 minutes. So now it's just time to turn them over. Now I find the easiest thing to do is to get a pair of tongs and grab the hole. And try not to be as clumsy as I am. If it falls out, don't worry about it. Have a spatula at hand. That's what you put that grease on there for, so it would fall out easily. And just turn them all over. Looks like these are going to fall out, so I'm just going to pull the rings off and flip them over. Look at that color. Just get them all flipped over. Put the cover back on, and we'll give them another 5 minutes on that side to brown up the other side. We cooked our English muffins on the other side for 5 minutes. And if you want to make sure they're cooked, which is a particularly good idea if you're doing them in a fry pan on the stove because the difference is in temperatures, just measure the internal temperature with an instant read thermometer. If it's over 200 degrees, you're set, and these are done. So now, we're just going to take them and put them on a plate. Now, you really need to let these cool down. It is actually part of the cooking process for the cool down part, and it gives them a better texture. Remember, you're going to toast them before you eat them. So I'm just going to put these on this plate, and I'm going to let them sit for 10 minutes before I taste one up to try it. See you in 10 minutes. I'd let my English muffin sit for 10 minutes, and I split one, and I have toasted it. You'll note that it doesn't get as brown as bread. It just gets little brown spots on it, which is what you're looking for. This is a batter, highly hydrated dough, so it's not going to brown up like regular bread, but it will get a nice crisp crust on it. You just got to butter it up, or in my case, margarine it up. And just give it a try. It's crispy from the toasting on the outside. It's nice and soft and tender on the inside. It's got big bubbles in it, so the butter melts right through it. This is a really great English muffin, and you can make it.
I have a good woman. I ain't good looking, but I do some cooking. I'm the old fat guy. So use that oven if you want some lovin'. Be like the old fat guy. Be like the old fat guy.